OK, so I'm a Catholic. I was raised a Catholic. So I'm a religious person, which I know is anathema to you, and we'll come to that. But my arguments with atheists, historically, have always come down to one thing. And maybe you've got an answer which will persuade me of the folly of my ways, which is this. What was there at the start?
We don't know. But I don't know and you don't know.
But no human brain, unless you want to correct me, can actually comprehend nothingness, right?
No, but it's a fallacy to think that because I don't understand how it happened, therefore God did it. I mean, that's just weak.
Well, no, OK, but I'm prepared to have an open mind about this.
Yes.
But somebody did. And I just have never met a human brain that can explain to me what happened before, say, you go for the Big Bang argument. What was there before? What does nothing look like?
Physicists are debating this. I'm not a physicist, but they're debating it. My point is that they don't know, and I don't know, and you don't know, and it doesn't help to postulate a God that did it.
But you're certain it's not a God, and yet you admit you don't know.
No, I'm certain that it doesn't help to postulate something very complicated at the outset, because what we've got is primeval simplicity, and from that stems everything. And what science does, it starts with simplicity, which is relatively easy to understand, and from that it develops into the whole of the universe and the whole of life. It doesn't help to start with complexity, and a creator has to be complex, whatever else he is.
The reason that I subscribe to the theory that there must be a more powerful being out there than anything the human race has created is because, like I say, a human brain can't comprehend nothingness or what may have come before nothingness. We can't. We're not able to extrapolate what that is, right? I mean, no scientist can explain nothingness, can they? Plausibly.
Well, maybe they can't. You'd have to talk to a physicist. But even
Could you explain it?
No, I'm not a physicist. But
you're a very smart guy, and you're a very vehement atheist.
No, I'm not. I'm not that vehement.
Well, you're pretty vehement. I mean, you just think all belief in all gods is ludicrous, right?
I think that it doesn't help to introduce complexity at the outset. That's my point.
No, I get that, but
no, well, I don't think you do get it.
Well, no, I do, because but you're asking me to consider that my own belief in a deity that may be above human thinking and understanding and brain power, that was there universally, that my theory is scientifically flawed, whereas I would throw back at you, OK, but I need to be given an alternative. I need some scientist somewhere to explain to me, right, 4 billion years, all right, but then what was there before that?
Well, scientists can't answer that, and what they say is things like it's like going north of the North Pole. I'm sure. I gather you recently introduced Stephen Hawking. He probably said that to you.
Yeah, he did actually. Yeah.
But the point is this: science can explain things starting with simplicity and working up to complexity.
No, I get that, but where science can't explain something, i.e., in the case I just gave you, is it not possible that you're all wrong on the atheist side of the argument?
We could be all wrong. But
you might get a shocking surprise one day when you're no longer with us.
You might.
And you discover we were right all along.
It's possible.
Do you concede it's possible?
It's highly unlikely.
You don't know, though, do you?
No, of course I don't. Scientists take a pride in admitting what they don't know. And they don't know what happened before the Big Bang. They don't even admit that the word before means anything with respect to the Big Bang. Physicists will tell you.
But it has to. I mean,
Well, it doesn't, because that's a naive statement. Physicists will say that you do not have to say there was a time began at the Big Bang, is what some physicists will say.
Yeah, but to which I immediately respond with my basic human brain. Well, OK, if time began, when did it begin?
Well, quite.
And what was there before?
Quite.
Which is a fairly obvious question.
It is a very obvious question. It's too obvious, and physicists will tell you that you're being naive.
Yeah, but they don't know why I'm being naive, because they can't provide any actual scientific evidence.
As you've just said, the human brain is not capable of grasping
Right, that's my point.
Yes.
So why is it not possible that there is a superior being, power, which many people believe in different ways?
It's possible there are fairies at the bottom of the garden. I mean, all sorts of things are possible. You can't deny that.
Well, except I've never seen fairies at the end of the garden, have you?
No, you've never seen God either.
No, but you don't know for sure that either doesn't exist.
No, I don't know that fairies don't exist. Fairies there may be leprechauns, for all I know.
But when you have loved ones who've died, for example,
That's tragic.
Yeah, but how do, as somebody who believes literally in the finality, the rotting of a body and that's it, it must be worse than for somebody like me, where I genuinely believe there's something better to come.
It's worse, so what?
Not so what, just curious, that it must be for you awful each time, far worse than it is for people who have a belief.
Yes, it is.
A lot of people take great comfort from their belief in God, that there is a different life out there.
Yes, they do. So
You don't have that sucker at all.
No.
So is it incredibly painful? More for you, perhaps, than somebody
No, I don't think so.
who is a believer?
Let me put it to you this way. If you really did believe it, wouldn't you say to the person on the deathbed, looking forward to seeing you in purgatory?
A lot of people say, looking forward to seeing you in another life, yeah.
Yes.
A lot of people say that.
You don't really believe it, though.
Actually, I do. Yeah, I do, actually. Because I find it, when I think about it in big picture, which is your great thing, I think, how likely is it that we just got put on this planet, Earth, as human beings, as a one-off kind of entity that existed here, and then you die and that's it? And it only lasted 4 billion years, and before that was absolutely nothing at all. How likely is that to have been the case? I don't think that's likely. My human brain, which is limited, does not think that is likely.
I think it's very likely. I think
Really?
It's exactly what happened, yes.
I think there has to be a power that is greater than the human brain. And that gives me succor to my belief in God, and why I think people turn to gods of different types, obviously. They turn to that because it is incomprehensible otherwise what has happened here.
There has to be something more difficult to understand than the human brain can understand. I accept that. But it doesn't have to be God. It doesn't have to be the kind of God who, I don't know, forgives sins and listens to prayers and things like that. There is something very mysterious, and I don't understand it, and you don't understand it, and maybe we never will. I think it's not clear whether physicists understand it. Some do, some don't, but it's obviously going to be very mysterious. But God is not that interesting mystery. God is just a personification of human desires, a father figure, something like that, somebody who looks after you. You said at the beginning that it was comforting for you. God is somebody who listens to prayers, who forgives sins, who takes action for the benefit of humanity or not, as the case may be. We're not talking about that now. We're talking about deeply, deeply mysterious, profound things which physics is working on, and it's very difficult to understand. And the fact that you don't understand it and I don't understand it is not a good ground, not good grounds for suddenly invoking a supernatural sky daddy.
But if our genomes, if our genetic background has all the information which has led to us being what we are today, and that will obviously extrapolate as we go forward, then it does beg the question, doesn't it? Where does the original information come from?
Yes, it does, and as far as a biologist is concerned, we're talking about the original information coming at the origin of life, and that's something which biologists and chemists and physicists can deal with. But you've gone right back to the origin of the universe, to the Big Bang, which is another matter entirely, and which is not really relevant to the biological question of what happens once biology gets started, which is the origin of genetics, actually. It's the origin of the information which is passed from generation to generation, from living creature to living creature. That started maybe 3.8, maybe 4 billion years ago. The universe started more like 13.8 billion years ago, which is a much longer time ago, and which is a totally different question, nothing to do with biology.
But doesn't code have to have a coder?
No, of course it doesn't. Code arises spontaneously at the origin of life, something very, very simple, probably, at the origin of life, which was not genetic, not DNA at least. It would have been some kind of genetic, some kind of coding, which would be a self-replicating molecule. Once you get a self-replicating molecule, then you have the possibility of mutation, which is the mistake in coding.
But where does that come from?
You were about to say something?
Yeah, where does it come from?
It comes from a random accident in chemistry at sometime around 3.8 to 4 billion years ago.
OK. I'm curious about your position about religion, because you went on Rachel Johnson's LBC programme earlier this year and you said this.
I do think that we are culturally a Christian country. I call myself a cultural Christian. I'm not a believer, but there's a distinction between being a believing Christian and being a cultural Christian. And so, I love hymns and Christmas carols, and I sort of feel at home in the Christian ethos. I feel that we are a Christian country in that sense.
And many people thought that was a very incongruous thing to say, because many would argue that your influence has been anti-Christianity, in the sense of you don't believe in religion, you don't believe in a God, you will have deterred people who listen to you and believe you from wanting to follow a God, a Christianity. Therefore, it's sort of antithetical to have the two positions. What do you say to that?
I am a cultural Christian who is against Christianity. That's nothing contradictory about that. I'm a cultural Christian in the sense that I know the Bible, I know hymns, I know carols, I like churches, I like cathedrals, I like cathedral choirs, I've sung in that kind of choir. So I am a cultural Christian, but I'm against Christianity, in that I'm against the belief system of Christianity, I'm against many other aspects of Christianity. There's nothing contradictory about that, nor is there anything new about my saying I'm a cultural Christian. I've always said I'm a cultural Christian.
Isn't it a bit hypocritical, though, to be, reading the Bible, singing hymns, going along with everything that Christianity represents, but saying you're not a Christian? You don't believe in anything that actually is the tenet behind it.
I'm not going along with it. I'm just saying that a cathedral is a beautiful building. The B minor Mass is a beautiful piece of music.
Speaking as a Christian, I mean, look, you like my churches, my cathedrals, the Bible. You like all this, and at the same time, you've said on the record, mock them, ridicule them. You said at the Reason rally in Washington, ridicule them in public.
I ridicule their beliefs.
Yes, I'm going to finish the quote. You said, don't fall for the convention. We're all too polite to talk about religion. Religion's not off the table. Religion's not off the list. Religion makes specific claims about the universe which need to be substantiated and need to be challenged, and if necessary, need to be ridiculed with contempt. Now, can you really be a cultural Christian and urge people to mock religions like Christianity at the same time?
Did you say lock?
Mock. M-O-C-K.
Oh, mock. Oh, yes, of course you can. I don't understand your problem. A cultural Christian is simply somebody who's brought up in a Christian culture and therefore is steeped in the music, the art, the architecture, the literature of Christianity. That's what I am. But I'm also against.
But my point to you is it all comes from the
Christianity.
belief. As a Christian who was raised a Christian, as a Catholic, it's all interwoven. You can't sing hymns in a church.
It is for you, but not for me.
Well, OK, but if you sing, it's a bit like going to a football match and saying that you're a cultural Arsenal fan and you're going to chant all the chants about all the players and about the club, but you don't actually believe in the concept of a football team. In fact, you hate football.
Look,
and you want it mocked.
I am a cultural Christian because I am steeped in the culture of Christianity. Doesn't mean I'm not against it. I mean, plenty of... Bertrand Russell, who is one of the most famous atheists who ever lived, was a cultural Christian who was brought up Christian. He brought up in Christian schools. He knew all about Christianity. It's a very different matter. You don't have to be in favour of it. I mean, when you read a novel, you can identify with the characters, but you don't believe they really existed. You can get emotionally involved in the characters. I can get emotionally involved in the music, the church music of Bach, even the St. Matthew Passion, which is about the tragic death of Jesus. I can get emotionally involved in that. But I don't believe that the teachings of Jesus, I don't believe Jesus was the Son of God. I don't believe he raised from the dead or was born of a virgin. But I appreciate the music of Bach. What's wrong with that?
Do you ever find yourself almost praying and then stopping yourself?
No.
Really? You never have a moment where you look for something else? You look for some solace somewhere? Maybe in a moment of grief or whatever it may be?
I might desire solace, and I would get it from other human beings.
You never think, I wonder if there's something out there that could spiritually help me?
No, I mean, wondering if there's something out there, that's another matter. I mean, I think there probably are plenty of mysterious things that we don't understand out there in the universe, but I don't think that they're God. I don't think that they answer prayers or give me solace of that kind. I don't think they have any kind of conscious intelligence. I think that there are deeply mysterious things in the universe which I would like to understand, and scientists are working on understanding, but I don't like to confuse that with religious views of supernaturalism, which I think are nonsense.
You've announced that you're going to be on your last tour, which many people are disappointed by because they love going to your shows and hearing what you have to say. That would indicate that you are becoming more perhaps aware of your mortality as you get older. Have you thought about what happens when your life ends?
Well, I'm 83. Have I thought about what happens?
Yeah.
Of course, I die.
Yeah. What do you think happens?
I think I get buried or cremated.
And
I think there's nothing after that. I think it's exactly like, of course. How could it not be? I mean, you have a brain which decays. How could there be anything other than that? There's just nothing. Just like there was before you were born.
But do you not wish...
You were not around when the dinosaurs were.
But do you not wish you were wrong? I mean, I remember Christopher Hitchens, I think, who was another famous atheist. He said, you know, I hope I'm wrong. Do you hope you're wrong? Do you hope that actually when it happens, when you die, and suddenly if you discover yourself in an afterlife, would you scream eureka and thank God I was wrong?
Well, no, I don't think that. I mean, I could do with about 200 years maybe, but I don't think much longer than that. But it isn't going to happen. I mean, it's obvious. I think eternity would be genuinely frightening. I mean, the idea of going on for trillions of years.
Hello, friend. Welcome back, and thank you for making it this far into the video. Yeah, so man, we've been on a real roll lately, breaking down some iconic moments in science and religion debates, and today we are tackling another classic from history. It's the one where arguably the world's most famous evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins sits down with the king of gotcha interviews, Piers. And as you've just witnessed, this is a fascinating clash of styles, man. Right from the start, you can see the fundamental disconnect between the two. Piers, true to his character, is coming at this from an emotional, personal place. He's talking about faith, comfort, about the feeling of something bigger, and he's good at that, as I've come to learn, man. He is trying to paint Dawkins as this cold clinical scientist who just doesn't give or understand the human need for spirituality. And to be fair, man, Dawkins can sometimes come across that way. He's not a warm and fuzzy communicator like, say, an Neil deGrasse Tyson. His strength is pure, unadulterated logic and a deep commitment to evidence. So when Piers asks him, but don't you ever look at the universe and just feel like there is a design at the end of it? Dawkins doesn't give an age. He instead goes straight to the science. He talks about the process of natural selection, not as a random accident, but as a magnificent, gradual and elegant process that doesn't need a top-down designer. He's trying to replace the God of the gaps with what he sees as the more beautiful, evidence-based poetry of reality. Now, that said, here's where I have to pause and touch on the elephant in the room for a second. While I personally have immense respect for Dawkins and his work in evolutionary biology and his role in popularizing science over dogma, I can't sit here and pretend he is a flawless communicator, because he has made some deeply controversial comments over the years, especially on social media. And even worse, they're comments that are considered reductive, outdated, and sometimes even harmful even within the scientific community. Evidence and all that, man. Anyway, I touched on all this in the previous video that I did featuring Richard Dawkins, which was titled, I believe, Richard Dawkins, something takedown of Christianity. So I won't rehash everything on here. The point is, it's important to separate the power of his scientific arguments from some of his personal and often problematic rhetorical choices. Now, back to the conversation / debates he had with Piers Morgan. What makes these debates so compelling to watch isn't that they change anyone's mind. They probably don't. It's because they are a perfect case study of two completely different worldviews talking past each other. One is based on faith alone, while the other is based on logic and evidence. And while Dawkins wins on the logical points every single time, you and I are both left wondering if that's even a worthy debate to have with someone like Piers Morgan, who we know will never change his mind. We've literally watched him have the same conversation multiple times with hundreds of people and still coming down to the same conclusions. So yeah, man, otherwise that's it for today. I really hope that you've enjoyed today's video, man. I hope that I'll see you again on the video that I upload on Monday, I believe. I think I'll upload this video on a Thursday. Anyway, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in today. Stay safe, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.